Hey there, fellow investors. Welcome back to the channel. Today, we're going to be doing a deep dive into Palo Alto Networks.
PANW.
PANW, exactly. For
Okay.
those of you who are following along in your portfolios and wondering, is this a buy or is this a sell? We're going to figure that out. We've got a really interesting set of information here.
Yeah.
We've got a stock analysis report. We've got their latest earnings call transcript.
Oh, nice.
And even some insider trading data.
Okay.
We're coming at this from all angles to try to figure this out together.
I like it. Yeah.
Multifaceted approach.
Multifaceted, exactly.
Yeah.
So let's see if we can crack this case wide open. What do you say we start with the good news first?
Yeah, always good to start with the positive.
Exactly. Always good to start positive. So PANW just absolutely smashed their Q2 2025 expectations. We're talking revenue hit $2.3 billion.
Nice.
That's a 14% jump year over year.
Which, yeah, that kind of growth really signals strong demand in the market. It shows that they are really grabbing market share, which is something investors love to see. Oh, yeah, absolutely.
But I will say the report gives them a narrow moat rating.
A narrow moat. What does that even mean?
So think of it like this. A narrow moat means that, yeah, they're strong, but, cybersecurity, this is a constantly evolving landscape,
Sure.
So they have a good defensive position, but it may not be as sustainable long-term compared to a company, say, with a wide moat.
Interesting. Okay, so they're doing well, but you're saying there's a but.
There might be a little but.
There's a little but.
A little asterisk.
There's a little asterisk. Okay. Well, at least their next generation security ARR, or annual recurring revenue, hit $4.8 billion. That's a 37% increase year over year.
See, that's what I like to hear. Recurring revenue is gold in the investing world because it provides stability and predictability.
Yeah.
And that's what investors are looking for. And I think this really demonstrates that PANW is making a smart move towards software and SaaS.
Software as a service.
Exactly. So it's kind of like how you subscribe to Netflix instead of buying DVDs.
Right.
PANW's customers, they subscribe to their security software instead of relying on those big clunky hardware systems.
Ah, I see.
Yeah. And this is a model that is really built for long-term growth.
Okay, so we've got strong revenue growth, move towards SaaS. Things are looking pretty rosy, reckoning.
Now, hold on now, not so fast. There's a little twist in this story.
Oh, there's always a twist.
There's always a twist. PANW actually lowered their full-year guidance.
Oh, no.
Which, this made investors a little nervous.
Wait, they lowered their guidance, but they had such a great quarter. What's going on?
I know it seems a little contradictory on the surface, but the earnings call transcript, it gives us a few clues.
Okay.
They're dealing with some one-time costs associated with launching new products and scaling their SaaS offerings. You can think of it as growing pains. They're investing heavily to expand, which is impacting their profit margins right now.
So it's not a sign of weakness necessarily. It's more of a calculated risk.
Exactly. They're prioritizing long-term growth over those short-term profits, which, yeah, it can make investors a little jittery.
Yeah, for sure.
And this brings us to some potential risks that the report highlights. First one being competition, especially from all those shiny new AI-driven security solutions.
Yeah, AI seems to be disrupting every industry these days, so it's not surprising that it's also shaking things up in cybersecurity.
For sure. And while PANW, they're no slouch, they can't afford to fall behind, they need to continue innovating and fending off those AI-powered rivals.
Okay.
Another risk is their reliance on the subscription model. So while this is good for the long game, it also makes them vulnerable in the short term.
It's a double-edged sword, right?
It is!
Good for consistent revenue, but risky if they can't keep those customers coming back.
Exactly. So imagine if Netflix suddenly lost a ton of subscribers. Their revenue would take a hit.
Right.
Same with PANW. Any slowdown in new subscriptions or, an increase in customers canceling those subscriptions, that could have a big impact.
Okay, so we've got incredible Q2 performance but lowered guidance, a promising but potentially risky move to SaaS, and fierce competition.
It's a mixed bag.
What's the overall consensus from the analysts? Are they bullish or are they bearish on PANW?
You're going to love this. It is a mixed bag. So Baird, they're a well-respected firm. They actually raised their price target for PANW to $230.
Wow.
Which, yeah, that's pretty bullish.
That's a good sign.
Yeah, it is. But then we have Deutsche Bank and BT downgrading the stock.
Oh.
So it seems like the analysts are kind of struggling to reach a consensus on PANW. Some see the long-term potential, while others are a little hesitant due to those near-term uncertainties.
So it's a bit of a tug-of-war between optimism and caution.
It is.
What's the final verdict from the report? Is it a buy, a sell, or what?
The report recommends a hold for now. They acknowledge PANW's strong foundation and the potential for growth, but there are too many question marks in the short term to give it a full-blown BUY rating.
And here's where it gets even more interesting. The report's fair value estimate for PANW is $187.98, which is significantly higher than its current market price.
Right.
So it's potentially undervalued, but they're still saying hold.
Yeah, that's the puzzle, right?
Yeah.
It suggests that the market might be overreacting to the lowered guidance and the short-term uncertainties. However, the hold recommendation, it's kind of urging caution, like a little yellow light,
Yeah.
signaling to do your own research and decide if you're comfortable with the level of risk.
Okay, before we dive deeper into the nuances of this report, let's throw another log on the fire with some insider trading data.
Okay.
The report mentions that PANW's president, William Jenkins, sold a large chunk of stock recently.
Oh.
Should we be hitting the panic button?
Oh, hold on now. Don't jump to conclusions based on a single transaction.
Oh, yeah.
There could be many personal reasons why he sold that have nothing to do with the company's performance. Maybe he's buying a yacht.
Maybe he's buying a yacht.
Who knows?
Okay.
Yeah.
So we shouldn't necessarily interpret this as a sign of lost confidence from the president.
Exactly. What's more helpful is looking at insider trading trends over time.
Are multiple insiders selling? Is there a pattern of selling versus buying? That can give you a better understanding of the overall sentiment.
Okay, so we've covered a lot of ground.
We have.
PANW has a strong foundation, an impressive Q2,
Yeah.
but there are question marks looming over its future.
A little bit, yeah.
It seems like they're in a transition period, which always comes with risks and opportunities.
Yeah. It reminds us that stock analysis isn't just about numbers.
Right.
It's about understanding the story those numbers are telling us, the industry dynamics and the choices that the company's making.
Speaking of choices, the report breaks down PANW's different business segments.
Right.
For example, their network security segment, which is a big part of their revenue, is showing strong growth.
Absolutely.
Especially on the software side.
Exactly. And this aligns perfectly with their move towards SaaS, and it really reflects what they were emphasizing on the earnings call.
Yeah.
Their software and SaaS firewalls are gaining some serious traction. They even highlighted a couple of specific products that are really doing well, like Prisma Access Browser and AI Access.
Okay, I'm going to need a little help understanding these products.
Yes.
Prisma Access Browser, what exactly is that?
So think of it as a way to secure your internet browsing no matter where you are or what device you're using. It's like having a super-powered security guard for your web traffic.
Okay.
Yeah, making sure nothing harmful gets through. And then AI Access, it uses artificial intelligence to control who gets access to what on a network.
So it's not just about those traditional firewalls anymore.
Nope.
It's about protecting data everywhere on any device.
Exactly. And these specific examples, they really show us where the industry is heading.
Got it. So software is booming, but the report also mentions concerns about slower growth on the hardware side of their business.
Right.
Is that a major red flag?
It's definitely something to watch. As more companies move their operations to the cloud,
Right.
the need for physical hardware like firewall appliances could decrease.
So it's the classic battle of old versus new, physical versus digital.
It is.
It seems PANW is adapting well, but they're clearly in a transition phase.
They are.
And speaking of transitions, the report also dives into their shift toward AI-powered security solutions. That sounds like a pretty big deal.
It's absolutely essential. And it's not just a trendy thing to do,
Right.
Cyber attacks are getting more sophisticated, and they're often using AI themselves.
Wow.
Yeah. To fight back, companies like PANW have to use AI as well.
Right.
You can think of it as fighting fire with fire.
Okay.
So their new Cortex Cloud platform, which integrates AI, this is a major step in the right direction.
Cortex Cloud sounds futuristic. What does it actually do?
Essentially, it's a one-stop shop for cloud security.
Okay.
It brings together a lot of their existing products, and it adds AI-powered features for things like threat detection, automated response, and even predicting potential attacks.
Wow. So they're not just reacting to attacks. They're
Exactly.
trying to stay one step ahead.
Exactly. And it speaks to that broader trend of proactive cybersecurity, going beyond just building walls and moving towards more intelligent and dynamic defense system.
That's a huge advantage.
Huge.
All of this sounds pretty impressive, but the report keeps emphasizing the fierce competition in the cybersecurity space.
It is a competitive space.
Are there any specific companies PANW should be worried about?
Well, the report doesn't name names, But it's clear that PANW isn't the only player in the AI-powered security game.
Right.
They're up against established tech giants and nimble startups, all vying for the same piece of the pie.
So it's a constant battle for innovation and market share.
Always.
No wonder the analysts are having a tough time predicting what's next.
I know it's hard to keep up.
Now let's talk valuation.
Yeah.
The report puts PANW's fair value at $187.98,
Okay.
which is considerably higher than its current market price.
Right.
But then they recommend a hold.
Right.
Can you explain that?
Yeah, so I think that difference really highlights the uncertainty around PANW's near-term future. So the company has solid fundamentals,
Yeah.
long-term potential, but the market is reacting to that lowered guidance and the potential risks we've been discussing.
So the whole idea is basically saying, hey, this could be a great deal, but proceed with caution.
Precisely.
Yeah.
It acknowledges the potential upside while urging investors to carefully consider the risks.
Okay.
It's a classic example of risk versus reward.
Speaking of risk,
Mm-hmm.
let's circle back to that insider trading data.
Okay.
We saw the president sold a good amount of stock,
Uh-huh.
which could be a warning sign. You said not to read too much into a single transaction.
Right.
What should we look for instead?
Look for patterns.
Yeah.
Is this sale a one-time event, or is there a trend of insiders selling off their shares? Especially multiple high-level executives. If you start seeing a bunch of sales happening,
Yeah.
it could mean that those in the know aren't as optimistic about the company's future.
So it's not just about how many shares are sold,
Right.
but also who is doing the selling and when they're doing it. That makes sense.
Yeah.
So to recap, PANW is a leader in cybersecurity with a strong track record.
Uh-huh.
But they're also facing challenges.
Yeah.
Every company in a fast-changing industry like this one has to adapt.
Yeah. And they got to adapt quickly, right?
Exactly. Adapt or die. Right.
Right. Exactly.
Sounds like they're in the middle of a high-stakes game, making some big bets on the future of cybersecurity.
Yeah. And those bets, those could pay off big time. But remember, investing, it always involves risk.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
To make smart decisions, you really need to stay informed and understand those risks.
So true. Let's go back to that insider trading data for a second.
Okay.
We talked about the president selling some stock, but you said it's important to look at the bigger picture. What kind of patterns should our listeners be looking for when they see this kind of data?
So think of it like this. Imagine you see your neighbor selling a bunch of stuff from their house.
Okay.
It might not mean anything, right? Maybe they're just decluttering.
Yeah.
But what if you start seeing other neighbors doing the same thing? That might make you wonder if something is up in the neighborhood.
Okay.
It's the same with insider trading. One sale doesn't tell you much. But if you see a pattern of selling, especially by those high-level executives, it could be a sign that they're less confident about the company's future.
That's a great analogy. It's all about context, right?
Mm-hmm.
We need to look beyond individual actions and consider the overall trend.
Exactly. And don't forget to look for insider buying, too.
Oh, wow.
If you see executives and board members purchasing shares, that's often a good sign.
Yeah.
Usually means they believe the company is undervalued and poised for growth, putting their money where their mouth is, so to speak.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
Okay, so to sum it all up, PANW is a major player in cybersecurity with a strong track record.
Yes.
But they're also facing challenges as they navigate a rapidly evolving industry.
That's the name of the game.
That's the name of the game, yeah. It seems like they're in a transition period, investing heavily in growth areas like SaaS and AI-powered security solutions.
And those are smart moves. They're smart moves for sure. But, those investments, they come with risks.
Right.
But also the potential for big rewards.
It seems like the million-dollar question is whether PANW can successfully make this transition and maintain its leadership position in the years to come.
And that's the question every investor needs to answer for themselves.
Yeah.
And that's what makes stock analysis so fascinating. It's a continuous process of learning, adapting, and weighing the evidence to make informed decisions.
Well said. I feel like we've barely scratched the surface of this complex and fascinating company.
Yeah.
But I think we've given our listeners a solid foundation to build on. What are some key takeaways our listeners should keep in mind as they continue their research on PANW?
First, I would say watch closely how PANW executes its platformization strategy.
Yeah.
Are they able to use this to keep customers engaged and increase revenue per customer?
That's a great point. It's all about creating that sticky ecosystem that keeps customers coming back for more. I also think it's crucial to track their progress in the AI-powered security space.
For sure.
Are they truly staying ahead of the curve, or are competitors catching up?
Yeah, those are excellent points. And of course, keep a close eye on their financials.
Right.
Revenue growth, margins, and free cash flow.
Right.
Are they delivering on their promises, or are those short-term uncertainties still lingering?
Solid advice. I
Yeah.
feel like we could talk about PANW for hours, but I think we've covered the most important points for our listeners today.
Yeah, I agree.
If you want to hear more deep dives into fascinating companies and investment opportunities, make sure to subscribe to this channel and hit that bell icon so you don't miss any of our future episodes. We're here to help you navigate the ever-changing world of finance and make smarter investment decisions.
We'll be back soon with more insights and analysis to help you stay ahead of the curve.
Until then, happy investing.